Hey guys, so I'd like to address a question that I get asked a lot, and that is, which optic is best for concealed carry? The Leupold DeltaPoint Pro or the Trijicon RMR? So I want to take a couple minutes to talk about which optic I use and why. When concealed carrying an optic, I believe it's important to be proactive in managing the intensity of the red dot itself. And why is that important? Well, if we're carrying a red dot, we should want to be as effective as possible with that piece of equipment. If we have our red dot brightened all the way, maximum intensity, and we have to draw that pistol in a dark building, or maybe it's at night, our MOA is going to go from 3 or 6 all the way to like 20 or 30. And that red dot is going to fill the entire pane of glass, making it hard to take accurate shots, and it could cover up the target completely. If we have our optic too dim and we have to draw that pistol in the middle of the day, like in a parking lot, we're not going to see the red dot at all. And then at that point, why do we have a red dot? So I believe it's important to be proactive in managing the brightness of your optic. And both the Leupold DeltaPoint Pro and the Trijicon RMR both have different button systems and different ways to do that. And I want to get into that. Now let's talk about the buttons that each optic has. So this is the Trijicon RMR6. It's 3 1/4 MOA, fully adjustable. This is the most popular RMR in use today in both law enforcement, civilians, and in the military. There's also one that comes in 6 MOA, 6.5 MOA. I prefer the 3 1/4 MOA for a number of reasons. I'll get into that in another video. This has 2 buttons on the sides. On the right side, it's a negative, and on the left side, it's a positive. So the positive makes the intensity go up, negative brings intensity down. When I'm carrying concealed, I'm right-handed, so when I'm carrying appendix, I've got negative facing out, positive facing in. So through my clothing, I can very easily adjust the brightness of this optic. The Leupold DeltaPoint Pro has a single button inside the optic where the battery compartment is. The battery can be removed from this optic more easily than the RMR. The RMR, you have to unscrew it to actually install a new battery, re-zero the optic, etc. The Leupold DeltaPoint Pro, you just pop this little latch, and then you can slip a new battery in there, and that's where the button to control the intensity is. The problem with the Leupold DeltaPoint Pro, however, is there's just one button for the intensity. It's either going up or it's going down. As soon as you've gotten all the way to the top, the dot will flicker telling you, hey, I'm all the way at full brightness, and then it will start coming down as you click the button. Once it gets to the bottom, which is like a night vision setting, which you can't really see in the day, then it comes up. If you hold the button down for 2 seconds, you actually switch direction. So there's a lot of stuff you have to be thinking about if you're trying to manage this optic through a garment, if you're concealed carrying an appendix or 4 o'clock. So it's really not as intuitive as something like an RMR. So let's demonstrate that with the sidecar holster. So I've got a sidecar holster on now. I know it's hard to tell, which is awesome, except I don't have a pistol in it. But I have my Glock 19 here that has a RMR6 like I showed just a second ago. I'm gonna holster that. And from here, if I need to manage the brightness of my optic, I can do that very easily. So right now it's set all the way to the top, down 1. And that's the setting that I can use throughout the day, no problem. I very rarely use max intensity because that dot is then very big. So if I walk into a dark building, it's very easy for me to go, I need to lower my optic. I just go to my shirt and I simply push through my clothing and I can feel the click and I know, okay, I've come down 1, come down 2, and I know I'm good to go. And that takes training to be accustomed to exactly what brightness you need to be at, and what situation, what environment. When it's dusk or when it's evening, I know to come down 2 just right off the bat. If I'm really managing that well, I'll come down 1 in an hour before dusk, and then I'll come down another when it's dusk and after. So that's something that you'll get from using an RMR for a while. It's something I highly recommend you do if you run an optic, is being proactive, managing the brightness of the optic so that you'll be most effective. Now, let's talk about the DeltaPoint Pro. So this was the RMR. So here we have the DeltaPoint Pro, and the problem with this is, like I said before, it's just got a button in the center. So I holster this pistol. Right now I'm on max intensity because this actually doesn't go as bright as the RMR at max intensity. This is also a 2 MOA optic. If I want to manage this through my clothing, because I'm in a concealed carry environment and I'm like, ooh, I need to come down a notch, I've got to go into my clothing like this and then push it and hopefully know, okay, I'm going down. So I hit once, I hit twice. I think I'm good, but I'm not 100% sure. I really am not 100% sure on the DeltaPoint Pro, and I don't really know unless I physically look at it. And sometimes that's not an option in a concealed carry environment. And then if I want to go back up, I have to remember, what direction is the intensity going? Is it going down right now, or is it going up? And at that point, I usually have to pull the pistol out, like go to a bathroom, or maybe go to my truck and do that. So in a concealed carry environment, the DeltaPoint Pro is not as easy to manage as a Trijicon RMR. And that is why I still conceal carry an RMR. The DeltaPoint Pro does have some advantages over the RMR, but because of this one thing, being able to manage that optic easily in a concealed carry environment through my clothing, that is why I choose the RMR over the DeltaPoint Pro. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. If you choose to carry an optic on your handgun for your concealed carry, there's a lot of responsibility that goes with that to maintain good effectiveness. Iron sights, you can be a little more lax, but if you're running a red dot, you really need to manage the brightness of that optic to get maximum effectiveness. So that's really something to think about. I know y'all probably have some questions about the DeltaPoint Pro and the RMR, that it's a little more specific, but we're gonna get into that in other videos and actually compare the two: glass, battery life, cost, a bunch of different things like that. So hold off on those questions, because we will get to those. But definitely subscribe to the channel if you want to see some other cool content. Got some good videos coming up talking about equipment, some shooting and other things like that. Until next time, I'm Lucas from T.REX Arms.